Your joints aren't dying in 10 years. Not in 5. They're breaking down right now. In this exact second, while you're listening to these words, something is happening inside your body. Something most people only realize when it's already too late. Every morning, your body sends you a message, but almost nobody hears it. That strange heaviness when you get out of bed. That feeling like your body turned stiff overnight. That tightness in your lower back after just an hour of sitting. That cracking in your knees when you stand up from a chair. Most people brush it off. They say it's age. They say it's fatigue. They blame the weather. But it's not age. It's not fatigue. And it's definitely not the weather. It's a warning signal your body is sending you every single day, hoping you'll finally pay attention. Inside your body, there's a system nobody ever taught you about in school. It's called fascia. It's a soft, connective network that literally wraps around every muscle, every organ, every joint in your body. Picture a thin but incredibly strong web that holds everything together, like an invisible framework. When your fascia is healthy, it's elastic, hydrated, and it glides. You move easily, effortlessly, like you did when you were a kid. But when fascia starts to dry out and tighten, everything changes. Movement becomes heavier. Your joints start to creak. Your body begins to feel like it's tightening from the inside. And here's what researchers from leading medical universities have found. Loss of fascia elasticity and reduced joint fluid movement are some of the earliest and most accurate indicators of how fast your body is aging on a cellular level. Not wrinkles, not gray hair. The state of your fascial system shows how old your body really is. And for most people, their joints are biologically 10 to 15, sometimes even 20, years older than the number on their driver's license. But here's what really matters. This process can be stopped. And more than that, it can be reversed. And I'm not talking about expensive treatments, painful injections, or spending hours in the gym. I'm talking about something so simple, you probably won't believe it when you hear it. 5 minutes, every morning, a specific sequence of movements, and your joints begin repairing themselves from the inside. Sounds too good to be true? That's exactly what I thought too, until I found out where this practice came from and what modern science says about it. But before I show you the exact technique, you need to understand how big this problem really is, and real quick. If you're getting value from this, hit subscribe and tap the like button. It really helps the channel grow and lets me keep making content like this for you. Now let me ask you something. What if I told you there's an ancient practice that's over 1,000 years old? A practice that healers, monks, and martial artists in the East passed down from generation to generation as one of their most protected secrets of longevity. They called it different things: joint washing, bone cleansing, opening the gates. But the idea was always the same: slow, precise, almost invisible movements that trigger processes inside the body you can't activate any other way. Western medicine ignored these practices for decades. Too simple, too strange, no pills, no machines, nothing to monetize, so there was no reason to study it. But then, fascia research started emerging, and scientists began to realize something. Ancient masters had figured out things that modern science took centuries to catch up to. They couldn't explain it in biochemical terms. They didn't have MRI machines or laboratories, but they observed, they experimented, and they passed down what actually worked. This practice works on 3 levels at the same time. First, it mechanically stimulates the fascia, making it absorb moisture like a sponge. Second, it boosts the production of synovial fluid, the lubrication that makes your joints move smoothly. Third, and this is the most fascinating part, it sends a signal to special cells called fibroblasts, which start rebuilding collagen inside your connective tissue. In simple terms, you're telling your body, start repairing. If you deal with morning stiffness, if your knees crack every time you squat, if your lower back locks up after sitting at a desk, if your shoulders tighten up from stress, if you feel like your body is getting stiffer and less mobile every single year, this practice was designed for exactly that. 5 minutes a day, no equipment, no special clothing. You can do it in your pajamas right after you wake up. And the results people see in 30 days shock even skeptics. But I don't want you to just take my word for it. First, you need to understand what's actually happening inside your body and why common methods like stretching, yoga, and strength training don't fully solve this problem. Because once you understand the root cause, you'll understand why this works where everything else fails. And this is where things get really interesting. Because what scientists discovered completely flips everything you thought you knew about joint pain and aging. 1%. Just 1% per year. Sounds insignificant, right? But that 1% is exactly what turns a young, flexible body into a stiff, creaky system over time. Here's what large-scale connective tissue research shows. After the age of 25, your fascia starts losing hydration slowly, quietly, about 1% every year. You don't feel it. At 30, you've lost about 5%. You blame slight stiffness on sitting too much. At 35, it's 10%. You start noticing it takes a little more effort to get off the couch. At 40, it's 15%. Morning mobility becomes a necessity, not a choice. And by your 40s, your fascia may have lost up to 25% of its original hydration. 25%. A quarter of what made you flexible and mobile, gone. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Dry fascia behaves completely differently from hydrated fascia. It's like dried out skin, like an old leather belt cracking at the bends, like a rubber band that's lost its elasticity and snaps under tension. When fascia dries out, it doesn't just get less flexible. It tightens, it shrinks, it pulls everything inward. It's like someone is slowly tightening an invisible corset around your body year after year. At first you don't notice, then more. Then more. Your posture starts collapsing. Your shoulders roll forward. Your back rounds. Your spine compresses, millimeter by millimeter. People call this aging. But it's not aging. It's dehydrated fascia literally pulling your skeleton inward. And the scariest part? It happens so gradually, you don't even notice it. You don't wake up one morning thinking, "Oh no, my fascia just lost 15% hydration." You just notice you can't touch your toes anymore. That turning your head feels harder. That getting up from a low chair now takes effort. Each change is so small, you adapt to it within a week. And then another change happens. And another. And 10 years later, you move like someone 20 years older than you actually are. But wait, this isn't even the most shocking part. Because scientists discovered something that completely changes how we understand where joint pain actually comes from. Everything you think you know about joint pain is probably wrong. That sounds extreme, but that's the conclusion researchers came to when they started studying fascia at a deeper level. Here's what they found. Most stiffness, most discomfort, most loss of mobility that people blame on worn-out joints, arthritis, or aging isn't caused by the joints themselves. In many cases, the joints are fine. Cartilage is intact. Bones are where they should be. The problem is what surrounds them. When fascia dries out and stagnates, it starts doing strange things to your body. It compresses nerves, creating pain where there's no actual damage. It restricts tiny blood vessels, cutting off oxygen and nutrients. It traps inflammation, preventing it from draining out of the joint area. Imagine a clogged drainage system. Water stops moving. Debris builds up. Everything starts to stagnate. The same thing happens inside your body when fascia stops functioning properly. That's why you can stretch every day and see no results. That's why lifting weights doesn't eliminate stiffness. That's why even regular yoga often doesn't solve the problem. All of those methods target muscles. They stretch muscle fibers, strengthen them, lengthen them. But fascia is a completely different tissue. It needs a different approach, a different type of movement, a different signal. Until you activate the fascial network directly, nothing truly changes. You can hold a deep stretch for an hour, but if your fascia stays dry and stagnant, the effect fades within an hour. You can squat heavy, but the fascia around your knees stays tight. You can use foam rollers, massage balls, all kinds of gadgets, but without the right internal movement, they only provide temporary relief. Your body is stuck in a loop you didn't even know existed. Fascia is tightening it, restricting it, drying it out from the inside, and you're trying to fix it with tools that weren't designed for that. It's like trying to open a lock with a screwdriver. You can keep forcing it for hours, but without the right key, the door won't open. And this is exactly where the ancient joint washing practice comes in. Because it was specifically designed for this, not for muscles, not for stretching in the traditional sense, but for directly working with the fascial network, giving it the exact signal it needs to rehydrate, release, and repair. And what happens on the cellular level surprised even the scientists studying it. Your fascia is alive. It's not just a passive wrapping around your muscles and joints. It's active, responsive, constantly adapting. It listens to every movement you make, and it responds. Here's what researchers discovered when they studied connective tissue at the cellular level. When you perform a very specific type of movement, slow, circular, controlled micro-movements around your joints, your fascia begins to behave in a completely unique way. It turns into a living sponge. Imagine a dry kitchen sponge, stiff, hard, compressed. Now imagine slowly squeezing and releasing it in water. With each movement, it absorbs moisture. It softens. It becomes flexible again. It returns to its natural state. That's exactly what happens to your fascia when you give it the right signal. Every controlled micro-movement pulls fluid into the tissue. It literally draws hydration in from the surrounding space. It drinks, and it fills itself from the inside. But that's just the first level. At the same time, something even more important is happening. These micro-movements stimulate the production of synovial fluid. That's the lubrication inside your joints, the fluid that allows movement to be smooth and pain-free. When there's not enough of it, your joints grind. They crack. They feel stiff. When there's enough, movement feels effortless, like a well-oiled machine. And these specific movements literally tell your body to produce more of it. But there's a third level, and it's the most fascinating. Inside your fascia, live special cells called fibroblasts. These are your repair cells. They build collagen. They restore damaged tissue. But here's the problem. Most of the time, they're inactive. They're asleep. They don't know they're needed because they're not receiving the signal. And do you know what that signal is? Movement. A very specific type of movement. When you perform slow circular micro-movements, you're literally waking these cells up and telling them, start repairing. This isn't theory. This is a measurable biological process that has been observed in laboratory conditions. Micro-movement activates fibroblasts. Fibroblasts begin producing new collagen. Collagen restores the structure of fascia. Fascia becomes elastic and hydrated again. Joints regain mobility. All of this is triggered by a simple signal, the right movement in the right rhythm. Ancient masters didn't know the word fibroblasts or synovial fluid, but they understood the principle. Look at Okinawa. It's one of the so-called blue zones, places where people live the longest and stay healthy into very old age. What sets centenarians in Okinawa apart? They move every single day in a very specific way. Slow morning rituals, movements that look strange to the Western eye, almost pointless at first glance, circular joint motions, gentle swaying, soft rotations, but these are exactly the movements that keep their bodies mobile even at 90, even at 100. The same is true for Tai Chi masters. You've probably seen older adults in parks doing slow-flowing movements. From the outside, it looks like a slow-motion dance. But look closer, they're 70, 80, sometimes 90. And they move with a smoothness most 40-year-olds would envy. Their joints don't crack. Their backs aren't hunched. Their movements are fluid and free. That's not genetics. That's daily practice. That's a system that keeps the fascial network functioning properly. Modern science is now confirming what these traditions have known for centuries. Studies show that just 5 minutes of targeted fascial work per day can improve joint fluidity by up to 30% in just 2 weeks. Another study showed a 25% reduction in inflammation markers in less than 12 days of regular micro-movement practice. Not years, weeks. And the effect is strong enough to measure in a lab. Monks in mountain temples, healers in ancient China, martial artists in Japan. They all came to the same conclusion. Movement restores youth. Stillness accelerates decline. This isn't philosophy. This is biology. Every time you move a joint in the right way, you trigger a chain of repair processes. Every time a joint stays still, the surrounding tissue dries out, sticks together, and ages faster than it should. The question isn't whether this works. The question is how the ancient masters structured this practice to get maximum results in minimal time. Because they didn't just understand micro-movement, they built a system, a precise sequence, 5 key points in the body, activated in a specific order. And now I want to take you back to where this system was born, high in the mountains, more than 1,000 years ago, where monks made a discovery that changed how they understood the human body. Movement is life. Stillness is slow decay. That might sound like a poetic phrase, but it's not a metaphor. It's a literal description of what's happening inside your body every day. Every time you move a joint in a specific way, you send a signal to an entire network of cells. You're telling them, I'm alive, I'm active, keep repairing. And they respond. Fibroblasts wake up and start building collagen. Synovial cells produce lubrication. The lymphatic system drains inflammation. Blood delivers nutrients. Everything works because it received the command. But what happens when the command never comes? When a joint stays still hour after hour, day after day, cells don't receive the signal. They don't know they're needed. Fibroblasts stay inactive. Collagen production slows down. Synovial fluid thickens, and there's less of it. Fascia starts sticking to itself, forming what's known as adhesions, areas where layers of tissue literally glue together. Inflammation has nowhere to go, so it builds up. And all of this happens quietly, gradually, without pain at first, until one day you realize you can't turn your head as far as you used to. This isn't a theory of aging. This is the mechanism of aging. And ancient Eastern masters understood it long before microscopes and labs existed. They observed people over decades, those who moved every day, and those who chose stillness, those who lived long lives with clear minds and flexible bodies, and those who, by 50, could barely get up off the floor. And they saw a pattern. Those who practiced the right kind of movement aged slower. Those who didn't aged faster, simple, relentless. They didn't know about fibroblasts. They couldn't measure synovial fluid, but they understood the core truth. Movement restores youth. Stillness accelerates decline. And they built a system based on that principle, a system passed down through generations as one of the most important longevity practices. A system born in mountains hidden by clouds and mist. High in the mountains of ancient China, in regions known for dense fog and sheer cliffs, there were monasteries most people had never even heard of. Taoist monks lived there for centuries, studying nature, studying the body, studying longevity. They kept records. They observed. They experimented on themselves. And one day, their healers noticed something strange, something they couldn't ignore. The longest living monks weren't the ones you'd expect, not the ones who meditated for 8 hours a day, not the ones who followed the strictest diets, not the ones who trained in martial arts until exhaustion. The oldest, healthiest, most mobile monks were the ones who performed a short, unusual ritual every single morning. 5 minutes, before speaking, before drinking water, before the day began. They would wake at sunrise and do something that, from the outside, looked almost meaningless. Slow circular movements, gentle rotations, soft swaying, nothing impressive, nothing that would amaze an observer. But these monks lived to 90, even 100. And moved like they were 40. Their joints didn't crack. Their backs stayed straight. Their walk was light and steady. The healers began studying this ritual. They called it the 5 gates. 5 movements, 5 minutes. 5 joints they believed controlled the entire body. Ankles, knees, hips, spine, shoulders. They believed these 5 points controlled the flow of life through the body. When the gates are open, everything flows. Blood, lymph, nerve signals, nutrients, energy, call it whatever you want. Inflammation drains. Tissues receive what they need. The body repairs itself. But when the gates close, everything changes. Stagnation, accumulation, compression. The body starts working against itself. Ankles, the gates of flow. All fluid moving through the lower body passes through here. If your ankles are restricted, swelling becomes normal. Inflammation can't move upward and leave the tissue. Your feet feel heavy. Your walk loses its spring. You start walking like you're carrying weights on your legs. Knees, the gates of stability. They carry your body weight and absorb impact with every step. When knees are healthy, movement is smooth and confident. When they're restricted, every squat feels like a challenge. Stairs become your enemy. That cracking sound becomes a warning sign. Hips, the gates of youth. Monks considered them the most important of all, because this is where the upper and lower body connect. This is the center of movement, and this is where the root of old posture often begins. A bent spine, a shuffling walk, an inability to fully straighten up. It all starts with closed hips. Spine, the gate of life force. 33 vertebrae, and between each one, space that is either free or compressed. When your spine moves freely, nerve signals travel without restriction. Spinal fluid circulates properly. Organs receive the correct signals from the brain. When the spine is restricted, problems begin, even ones people don't realize are connected to their back. And finally, shoulders, the gates of energy. Major lymphatic pathways run through this area. This is where stress accumulates, from sitting at a computer, from slouching, from tension. Closed shoulders mean headaches, neck stiffness, arm fatigue, and that constant feeling like you're carrying an invisible weight. 5 gates, 5 key points. When all 5 are open, your body works as one coordinated system. When even one is restricted, problems begin, and they build over time. Now I'm going to show you the first 2 movements that start opening these gates. Here's the ritual. No equipment, no special place. You can do this in your bedroom, in your kitchen, in your office, anywhere. Just you and your body. Slow, controlled micro-movements that tell your joints. Start repairing. Each movement takes about 1 minute. 5 movements, 5 minutes. Full activation of all 5 gates. First movement, ankle spirals. The gates of flow. Stand upright or sit on the edge of a chair. Lift 1 foot slightly off the ground so it can move freely. Now begin drawing slow circles with your foot in the air. Don't rush. The slower you go, the better. 20 circles clockwise, then 20 counterclockwise. You'll feel your ankle joints starting to wake up. You might even hear a light cracking sound. That's normal. That's stagnant fluid starting to move. Then switch legs and repeat. This movement activates the pump that pushes stagnant fluid up through your legs. It starts draining inflammation. It begins hydrating your fascia from the ground up, from the foundation your whole body stands on. Second movement, knee circles, the gates of stability. Bring your feet together and slightly bend your knees. Just a little. Don't lock them straight. Place your hands gently on your knees. No pressure. Now start drawing circles with your knees. Small, controlled, smooth. First clockwise, about 20 circles. Then counterclockwise, another 20. You'll feel something happening inside your knees. That's synovial fluid spreading throughout the joint capsule. That's pressure being taken off the cartilage. That's a signal to your cells. Start working. But this is just the beginning, because the next 3 movements activate the most important gates, the ones that determine whether you move like a young person or like an old one. Your hips are stealing years from your life right now. Not your knees, not your back, your hips. These 2 joints, hidden deep inside your body, are changing your movement in ways you don't even notice. They shorten your stride. They tilt your pelvis. They pull your lower back forward, creating that constant tension you blame on fatigue. Closed hips are what turn the walk of a 40-year-old into the shuffle of a 70-year-old. Third movement, hip circles, the gates of youth. The monks called this polishing the jade bowl. They imagined the hip joint as a precious vessel that needed to be polished from the inside with slow, mindful movement. Stand upright. Place your hands on your hips. Slightly bend your knees to free up your pelvis. Now begin drawing slow circles with your hips. Imagine there's a ball inside your hip joint and you're gently rotating it inside the socket. 20 circles in one direction, 20 in the other. Don't rush. The slower you move, the deeper the effect. You may feel unusual sensations, maybe slight clicking, maybe tension in places you've never noticed before, maybe even mild discomfort. Because this area has been inactive for so long, all of that is a sign the process has started. This movement is known for relieving lower back stiffness because your lower back and hips are directly connected. When your hips are tight, your lower back compensates. It takes on work it was never designed to handle. It becomes overworked, tight, and you feel that dull, nagging pain that never fully goes away, no matter how much you stretch or massage. Open the hips, and the lower back releases on its own. Fourth movement, spinal wave, the gate of life force. This movement is different. There are no circles here. There is a wave. Imagine your spine is not a rigid column, but a flexible rope, or a snake, or a stream of water flowing vertically. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Start with your pelvis. Gently tuck it forward, like you're curling into yourself. Feel that movement travel upward through your spine. Your lower back rounds. Your mid-back follows. Your shoulders roll forward. Your head drops. Then reverse it. Your pelvis moves back. Your lower back arches. Your chest opens. Your shoulders roll back. Your head lifts. A wave moving up and down your spine. Slow, smooth, no jerking. Every vertebra participates. Every small joint gets attention. This movement does what no stretch can do. It creates space between the vertebrae. It allows spinal fluid to circulate more freely. It relieves pressure on the nerves that run from your spine to every organ in your body. 1 minute of this wave, and your back feels like it's been opened from the inside. Fifth movement completes the sequence. This is the peak of the system, the point where the physical body meets what the monks called energy flow. Your shoulders, the gates most people keep closed their entire lives without even realizing it. Shoulder spirals, the gates of energy. Raise your arms out to the sides to about chest level. Don't tense them. Let them stay relaxed. Now begin drawing small circles with your shoulders. Not your arms, your shoulders. The joints themselves are moving. Small, controlled rotations. 20 circles clockwise, slow, controlled, aware, then 20 counterclockwise. You'll feel something happening in your neck area. That tension you've been carrying for months or years begins to release. You'll feel muscles relaxing that you didn't even know existed. This movement activates the lymphatic system in your upper body. It drains stagnation. It removes that invisible weight people carry in their shoulders as if it's normal. 5 movements, 5 minutes, 5 gates. You've just learned the full sequence monks practiced every morning for over 1,000 years. Ankles, knees, hips, spine, shoulders. From the ground up, like a wave rising from the earth to the sky. Each movement prepares your body for the next. Each gate you open makes the next one easier to open. This isn't a workout. It's not exercise. It's a system reset. A full hydration cycle for your fascial network. A signal to every joint in your body. Wake up. Start repairing. You can do it in your pajamas right after you wake up. You can do it at the office when your body feels stiff. You can do it in the evening to release the tension of the day. 5 minutes that change everything. But here's the real power of this ritual. Doing it once gives you relief. Doing it consistently creates transformation. And what happens to your body in 30 days of daily practice surprises even skeptics. 30 days. That's all it takes for your body to start feeling unfamiliar, in the best way. Not 30 years, not 30 months. 30 days. 5 minutes a day. 150 minutes total. Less time than watching one movie. And in that time, changes happen inside your body that most people think are impossible after a certain age. Day 1. You finish the sequence and feel something strange. Lightness. Like your joints were lubricated from the inside. Like something that's been off for years just switched back on. This isn't placebo. This is the first wave of synovial fluid being distributed through your joints. This is the first signal to your fibroblasts that it's time to wake up. The effect may last a few hours, or it may fade quickly. It doesn't matter. The process has started. Week 1. Morning stiffness begins to fade. You wake up without that heavy wooden feeling in your body you got so used to, you stop noticing it. Getting out of bed takes less effort. Your first steps in the morning don't come with that internal groan. Your body begins to anticipate the signal it receives every morning and prepares for it. Week 2. Inflammation begins to drain. Areas that used to feel slightly swollen start to soften. Movement becomes smoother. You notice your posture improving without consciously trying. Your shoulders open. Your chest lifts. You look taller, even though you didn't grow a single inch. Your body simply stopped collapsing inward and started taking up the space it's meant to occupy. By the end of week 3, a shift happens. Your body adapts. Fibroblasts are fully active. New collagen is being integrated into your fascia. Synovial fluid increases. Joint capsules become more hydrated, and you start moving in ways you haven't moved in years. Day 30. Range of motion you thought was gone forever comes back. You turn your head and are surprised by how far it goes. You bend forward, and your hands reach the floor more easily. Your walk changes. Lighter. More spring in your step. Your knees stop clicking with every squat. Your hips open. Your spine feels free, like there's more space between each vertebra. Many people say they feel 10, 15, even 20 years younger. And they're not exaggerating. Because the age of your joints isn't defined by your birth date. Everything I've told you today comes down to one simple truth. Your body isn't broken. It's not worn out. It's not too old. It simply forgot how to repair itself because it stopped receiving the right signals. Your fascia dried out because it wasn't being activated. Your joints became stagnant because they weren't being flushed. Your repair cells fell asleep because nothing was waking them up. But all of that is still inside you. That entire recovery system that worked perfectly when you were 20, it didn't disappear. It was just switched off. And 5 minutes a day is the key that turns it back on. Now you have a choice. You can close this video and keep living the way you've been living. Waking up stiff, blaming the cracking on age, watching your body become tighter and less mobile every year. That's your choice. That's what most people do. Or you can make a different choice. You can start today. Right now, tonight before bed, or tomorrow morning when you wake up. 5 minutes, 5 movements, 5 gates, and see what happens to your body in 30 days. Here's what I want you to do. Go to the comments and write 2 words. Day 1. Make it public. Because research shows that when you declare your intention publicly, your chances of following through increase by more than 60%. Thousands of people have already taken this challenge. They've transformed their mobility, posture, and quality of life using this ancient practice, now supported by modern science. And here's the most important thing I want you to take away from this. Your body is not betraying you. It's not breaking down out of nowhere. It's responding to what you give it. You give it stillness. You get stagnation. You give it the right movement. You get recovery. This isn't motivation. This is biology. Monks understood this 1,000 years ago. Now you do too. So here's my question for you. How many more mornings of stiffness and cracking do you need to go through before you decide that 5 minutes a day is worth trying? Write day 1 in the comments and start today. If this helped you, hit the like button. It really does help the channel grow. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video, where I'll show you an ancient standing breathing technique that amplifies this ritual and unlocks an even deeper level of recovery. Your youth isn't gone. It's just waiting for you to wake it up.